Okay, boys, so here we are. We're going to talk about the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 carry comp, denoted by that compensator right here, as well as the aesthetic choices they chose and the aluminum frame. This is the first M&P I have ever bought because I've had zero interest in the M&P line ever since it was launched. It was always like, that's kind of cool, but this is better. One of those things. And this one caught my eye. Quite literally, it looks so friggin' cool, right? This is a very cool looking gun, awesome aesthetics, and that is very important in a gun. You want a cool looking gun as well as its second cool, its functionality going in. So let's talk about that because we're gonna roll in some range footage right now. And we're going to talk about this gun at the range because that is one of the important things about this gun. Its main advertising is this compensator at the end. You can see the barrel has a hole in it, the slide has a hole in it, and that is supposed to reduce recoil. It is supposed to delete recoil on this gun, as all of the YouTubers will tell you. And, you know, let's just put that to the test. We're here with the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 carry comp. This thing is pretty cool. Brand new release from Smith & Wesson. It is one of those compact slide with the full-size grip. So we have a 4¼ inch barrel and then 17+1 capacity. Its claim to fame is that comp right there, built into the slide and the barrel. Now, in order to properly review this gun, we have to talk about its claims because its claims are basically that it reduces recoil, and people will say it deletes recoil on the internet. The hype on this gun is that it barely recoils compared to everything else. So in order to talk about this gun and my review of this gun, we really need to talk about recoil first. So what we're going to do is we are going to be comparing it to another comped gun and some of my favorite guns in the super low recoil category all the way up to super high recoil, and we're going to compare all these different guns first. We're going to do 5 rounds on a target that is 5 yards downrange, right over there. We're going to do 5 rounds for each gun, some being higher recoiling guns and some being the lowest, in my opinion, on the market compared to this. And we're going to do the exact same viewing angle so you guys can compare how it jumps in my hands. And then we're going to look at the groups, see if there's much difference between the groups, and then we'll dive into the specific review of the Smith & Wesson carry comp. All right, let's start with all the shooting footage and we'll go from here. All right, guys, we're going to start with the Walther PDP, my favorite 9mm pistol. You might have seen my review on this thing. I love this gun. It's actually in most people's top favorite guns, either position number 1 or 2 or something like that. Phenomenal gun, but everyone's main criticism of this gun usually is the recoil. So we're going to start with the Walther PDP, and I'm going to try to make sure the angle is the same and I stand in the same place for all these different guns. And then we're probably going to finish off with the Smith & Wesson. So let's roll in the 5 rounds per gun. I'm going to start on the upper left-hand circle and work my way right and down, all the way down the target. Alright, next we have the Taurus TS9, kind of a sleeper in this category. This is a $250 gun. Now it doesn't use a Browning action, it uses a William Bubitz design, which is something really interesting about this gun. And literally anybody can afford this gun at $250. So let's look at the recoil of this thing, because I happen to think it has extremely low recoil, never mind the price. Alright boys, up next is a very cool gun. This is the Steyr C9A2. This is a subcompact slide with a full-size grip, 17+1. You can see that crazy grip angle. This is one of the lightest recoiling 9mm in my opinion. So we're going to be on the 3rd circle, 5 rounds. Alright, so now we have a behemoth of a gun. This is a Sig Sauer Spectre comp. So this is another comped offering with an actual compensator threaded onto the end of the barrel. This is another way to do it. Smith & Wesson decided to build it in. These guys threaded it on. This is a super heavy, like 45 plus ounce competition gun. I only have this thing because it's my Raider X, but we're gonna shoot this thing. I've actually never shot it in the pistol configuration, the actual pistol configuration. I've only shot it as a Raider X. I've never actually used this grip frame. So we're gonna go on the fourth circle. First time ever shooting this gun. We'll see how it recoils. It's supposed to be 1 of 6 hours flattest shooting 9 mils. Let's roll. That actually was pretty soft shooting. All right, let's next one. All right, boys, here we are. Smith & Wesson's new M&P 2.0 carry comp. We're gonna shoot this 5 rounds, next circle, and then we're gonna finish off with a little special treat. 5 rounds, 5th circle. All right, and last one. All right, and last one for funsies, we have the CZ P10F in 45 Super. So the point of all this is to compare the recoil, but then to talk about recoil itself. How much does it actually matter? We're gonna do 5 rounds with 45 Super. This is a, let's see, 180 grain projectile going like 1,300 feet per second, something like that. This is insanely powerful. It's got like 700 plus foot-pounds of energy. It is roughly like 3 times more powerful than all the ammo we've shot thus far. So we're gonna be doing the 6th circle. I'm gonna shoot it as fast as I think I can shoot it accurately. And then we're gonna actually go into the review of the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 carry comp. We had a failure, and it's actually interesting. The concussion from this round actually blew my target up. So if you can see the target, I have 2 rounds that are low over there. The whole bottom of the target like blew away at 5 yards because of all the recoil. I don't know if I induced this malfunction, but it locked back early. 45 Super can do that to guns sometimes because the guns aren't meant to handle that amount of recoil, so it actually can make the controls bounce. I've experienced that on a couple different guns. I did not experience that on this because usually I have the, it's like a 130 grain, one of those screwdriver tipped 45 Supers, which recoils a little bit differently than this 180 grain stuff. But I used the regular 180 grain stuff just because I had more of it on hand, and I never actually used it through this gun. So it could be the controls, or it could just be me hitting the actual slide release due to the recoil. But we'll do the last round just for fun. 45 Super is so fun. Alright guys, that concludes my 9mm recoil comparison. These are some of my favorite guns, some of the guns that I think recoil the least and most out of all these. You guys can rewind and fast forward and compare these. Let me know which in the comments you guys think actually recoil the least amount. And I'm going to give my impressions right now of the least and most recoil, obviously excluding our 45 Super badass P10F. Alright, so let's talk about the least recoiling gun and the winner of this little recoil competition. It's actually between 2 because I can't really decide between these guys, and it's not exactly fair because one of them is a hefty boy right here. This is the P320 Spectre comp. So this thing is very heavy. This is like a brick in your hand. So it's kind of not surprising that it recoiled the least out of all these, but I've actually never shot this gun in the pistol configuration. This slide is always on my Raider X. I've never actually used this lower, so I was a little bit surprised that it actually did mute the recoil, especially for a P320 that typically has the highest recoil out of any 9mm. But this did a phenomenal job. So if you're a competitor and you shoot 9mm, this is actually a pretty good option. This very, very light recoiling 9mm, tied for the least I've ever experienced in a 9mm so far. And the other one, I am not surprised about, because when I first shot this gun, the very first thing I thought after the first round was, wow, that did not recoil at all. And that is the Taurus TS9 with the William Bubitz design. This is not fair, because this is an extremely light, compact 9mm that's not comped at all, and this thing recoils like nothing. It feels weird when you shoot it, because like you're expecting it to jump a little bit, and it almost doesn't. And I don't know if this portrayed itself in the footage that we played, but anyway, this is the lightest recoiling polymer pistol I have ever shot right here. The Taurus TS9, it's like a $250 gun. You can buy one just for funsies and shoot it at the range. You'll laugh. The trigger is kind of crappy, but it's a $250 combat gun. This is like Brazil's military pistol, so it's super reliable. Amazing gun. Definitely light recoiling. And for what you guys all came here for, this is the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 carry comp. My shooting impression so far is that it recoils the exact same as any other striker-fired gun. This is not even the lightest recoiling of this bunch. I had the Taurus TS9 that I had significantly less recoil, impulse, in my impression, my feedback. It actually has a metal frame, which maybe hurts it, if anything, but I didn't notice any significant drop. This comp isn't doing you guys any favors. If you buy this gun, don't expect it to delete recoil. Don't believe all the hype. It is a very good gun, which we're going to go over right now, but recoil only, that is my impressions on this gun so far. It's the same as everything else, boys. And that's usually how it is with marketing. You know, they hype up a thing. Everyone who got this gun for free is going to hype it up, because that's how gun reviews work. Gun companies don't send me guns because I'm not going to shill out and lie and say that this thing recoils less than everything else. You know, that's just how it is. So let's look at the target, and we'll compare all the different groups we got. All right, boys, here's our target. We have the PDP right over here, TS9. Steyr C9A2, we got the Sig Sauer, Spectre Comp, M&P 2.0 Carry Comp, and our awesome P10F 45 Super. These would have been up here, but this paper actually blew back after these first two rounds hit, because at 5 yards, that's just the concussion of 45 Super. And then the last round actually went in the exact same hole as the first round. So that's our 5-round group over here. Now what this is to demonstrate is that if you can look at these groups, they're all about exactly the same size. This gun right here, the Spectre Comp, and the TS9 over here, my impression and my impression of the felt recoil was those recoiled way less than all of the other ones. But what this is to demonstrate is when you're shooting that fast, it's all about cadence and picking up your sights, because you can only shoot so fast where you can pick your sights up, and that's what matters the most. This 45 Super group with significantly more recoil and blast and all that stuff would have been the exact same as all these other ones. It's just all about cadence. And when you start to get to the point where you're trigger slapping and you're not actually picking up your sights, when you're shooting much faster than I just did for most of these guns, that's when you start to use muscle memory rather than the actual sights, because your eyes can only pick up that sight so quickly and so accurately. So that's the thing I wanted to point out, is recoil is overblown, guys. That's the moral of the story. Recoil is overblown. Don't worry about recoil so much. Let's talk about the features of the Smith & Wesson that you might want to buy it other than just the recoil, which is what everybody's talking about. All right, so I was talking about shooting for picking up your sights and then shooting instinctively. Instinctive shooting is with muscle memory, and It's through practice. It's quite perishable, whereas shooting with the sights will always work. So I'm going to show a difference between shooting with the sights and shooting instinctively with the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. And we're going to use this circle down here, and then we're going to use this circle over here. We know we have these two large 45 super holes in there, but other than that, we're going to use those two circles, and we're going to shoot as fast as I can with using the sights, and then just instinctively, and show the difference a little bit. So I'm going to go low ready, and I'm going to go up. All right, and then now that's about as fast as I can shoot with actually seeing the sights. Now we're going to go and we're going to shoot a little bit quicker, and it's going to be instinctive shooting, and it's going to use more fundamentals and more muscle memory to hold the gun and redirect the sight down as far as I think I need to in order to stay on target. All right. Paper flew up a little bit, but let's take a look at the two different groups. All right, so here are the two groups. We have the 5 rounds over here for when I was trying to actually use the sights and shoot quickly. This is at like 5 or 6 yards. I actually threw one down here, but the other ones were right there. And then over here, when I was shooting way more quickly without using the sights at all, I'm just shooting basically to muscle memory. I did notice the paper did blow back after I got going pretty quick, and so it's really like 5 or 6 yards. The concussion kind of blew the paper back. So I might have dropped a couple below here, but that was about 10 shots. And like we have like 2 right here in one hole, then there's 2 over here in this hole, there's 2 in that hole. Looks like another one ripped through over here. And so that's most of the shots right there. But you can see there's a pretty significant difference between using your sights and using muscle memory. I'm also not amazing at the muscle memory stuff. I haven't shot that much to be really good at it, but this is perishable, this is not perishable. So that's the difference between the two types of fast shooting. And when it matters, this is when recoil control would matter more than this. But you can see you can still shoot pretty fast and still shoot pretty accurately with using your sights. All right, so we just got back from the range and we have the M&P 2.0. Let's talk about this thing's actual features as we have gone over the recoil. Obviously, this thing does not recoil a lot. It does have a very good recoil impulse. It is definitely better than the PDP. The PDP was definitely the highest recoiling among all those other 9mm guns we shot. But as you guys saw, it's not going to make a difference, make or break it for you. It's the other features on these guns that really make them better or worse than the other. Recoil is a very distant side note once you start talking about these guns, and people tend to way overplay that, especially on the internet. Everyone's like, oh my god, that gun recoils a lot. It doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter. You could shoot really fast using your sights, recoil or not, 10mm, 9mm, 45 Super, it doesn't matter. You can shoot pretty quickly. I even have a video on the Desert Eagle 50 cal, and I can shoot that around like a little over 1 round a second and still hold that at 7 yards in a solid 4 to 6 inch group. So it's all about cadence. It's when you start to learn how to use this thing and this thing, or these, that actual accuracy will come into play, and recoil mitigation becomes just part of your fundamentals and a little added bonus if it is better than another gun. But let's talk about the features of this gun that don't have to do with that. Let's talk about the texture. The M&P 2.0 texture on this gun is phenomenal. This is basically like a 60 grit sandpaper. That is exactly what it feels like. I have 60 grit sandpaper that I use on different things, and this is basically it. There is no stippling, however, over here. I didn't notice that. I mean, this is slick. You are using a two-handed grip, so you are going to be doing that. But honestly, I didn't notice or miss having texture right here. It wouldn't have hurt if they put texture right here, certainly, or maybe like right here, over here, but I didn't miss it, and I don't fault the gun for not having it, because if they put another grip panel like this over here, it probably would complicate something with the magazine. I'm guessing that's why they didn't do it, or maybe aesthetic reasons. Who knows why they didn't put another panel right here, because this is like a plastic and it's just bolted on with this screw. Basically, you just twist it and pull it off and this little piece comes off. This is affixed to it somehow. I'm not exactly sure if we look inside here, but it does have slight wiggle to it, so it is not glued. It is affixed via a screw or a rivet someplace inside here. This one is just affixed via this screw right here that just twists, and then you can just pull this off. It comes with different back straps. This will just come off and you can put a different size on. I always just use the medium. That's typically what I end up with, even though I have larger hands, like usually XL, double XL gloves. It just fits really well. I tried the larger ones and they just like change the angle of the grip too much to be comfortable. So while they do like swell out and further back, it also just makes this a deeper angle, which I end up preferring much less. This gives you plenty of grip, these two. Along with, I think, the lines of the gun. I think this all just helps hold the gun very flat. Plus, it doesn't recoil that much like we were discussing. It wasn't the least of the bunch, but it certainly wasn't the most. It is a light recoiling 9mm, so, but it's not any sort of magic. It did get beat out by probably equal to the Steyr, and a little bit less was the TS9, and definitely the P320, but that thing is double the weight practically of this, with a real comp that is screwed onto the end of the barrel. But as far as that's concerned, the grip is phenomenal. The ergonomics are also phenomenal. It is not like the PDP where it melds into your hand. When I hold this, I get really tense contact right behind these knuckles and right here on the grip. So the sides, it is a very thin gun, whereas the PDP is slightly rounded and kind of mimics the contour of your hand. This is slightly thinner, but it gives you really great contact on either end, which is where most of the recoil is going to be mitigated at each end, the back strap and the front strap right there. So that worked out really good. Magazine release has the same texture on it, which is actually really, really nice. This is awesome. Most magazine releases don't have like an aggressive texture on them. You can really feel your finger bite into this magazine release. I love that a lot. That is phenomenal. The trigger shoe itself is curved, so I absolutely love that. I hate flat face triggers. They find them very annoying. The trigger shoe safety right here depresses very comfortably underneath everything, so there's no like weird things sticking out like a Glock that will just dig into your hand and after 200 rounds you're annoyed. This one is really nice. You can shoot it for an extended period of time. No hot spots whatsoever. That is the trigger function. So we saw really good accuracy at the range. You have a decent amount of take-up. There's a little bit of grit here. Doesn't matter. Doesn't affect you when you're shooting because you're going to be at the wall anyway. And then when you put a little pressure on it, breaks very clean. Barely any travel at all, like any mush or anything like that. Reset is right there. Back at the wall. It has a nice reset. I mean, it's not a PDP trigger, but it's not that far off. So it does have a very nice trigger, way better than a Glock. It's probably like a VP9. I'd say like pretty close. Yeah, I'd say like it's about a VP9 trigger, which is, to say a lot. It's a very nice trigger. I was able to get phenomenal accuracy with this gun at 7 yards, all the way out to like 15 yards. That's where the range pulley actually stops, at about 15 yards. Phenomenal accuracy with this gun. Obviously, the RMR HD helps with accuracy, but in general, you can put rounds where you want them with this trigger system, as well as The other controls, which are phenomenal, which would be the slide release. This thing is really good. It's just extended enough. There you go. You got a nice view of that. That ledge is great. You can drop it with the empty mag in there. You can drop it without the empty mag onto live rounds. It's a really, really good mag release. Also has a nice shelf underneath it to push it up. It's just a very well designed. We've already figured this stuff out. This isn't, if they messed this up, that would be ridiculous. Never mind kind of praising it for being good, but it is good. So there's that. The slide serrations are phenomenal. So previous to this gun, the PDP had the best slide serrations ever. I think these are probably like a little bit better. They aren't huge. They look very cool, and they grab your hand really, really well. They did steal the VP9 wings on the back, that idea, which is fine, but usually I have a red dot on the back, so I'm actually mostly racking the slide with the front serrations, because I usually don't like to grab my optic or grab around the optic. Sometimes I will do something like this and rack like that, but a lot of times I'm just doing that when I'm racking, or I'm just coming off the top and doing this, one of these guys. So I'm usually not grabbing the optic itself because I don't want to hit the buttons. And I usually don't have them in lockout and or auto adjust. So I don't like to hit the buttons, and that's pretty easy to do, especially on the RMR HD where the button is ginormous. So I usually don't like doing that. I'll usually do this or maybe something like this, anywhere where I'm not putting pressure on those buttons. So these slide serrations in the front are really awesome and allow you to do that really well without any slippage at all. The iron sights are phenomenal with that bright yellow neon green dot and the U-notch blacked out rear. That is my preference. That is phenomenal if I were to use them. I don't like co-witness on any of my guns. I hate anything interfering with my window, so I want my red dot to be clear of any distractions other than the dot, so I don't have any irons that are higher, any sort of co-witness crap going on. So this is exactly how I'd want the gun. This is how the gun comes. It has this little plate for the RMR, just slaps right on. And yeah, guys, this is a very good gun. It is not going to delete recoil. It's not going to magically make you a better shooter. Your cadence and trigger control is what's going to make you a good shooter. Get some training, learn how to reset your trigger, learn how all that works. That's going to make you a way better shooter. As you guys saw, you can shoot really well with super high recoiling guns. You can shoot really well with low recoiling guns. It is a little bit easier with a low recoiling gun, especially when you get into the instinctive shooting style of shooting, where you're shooting faster than you can acquire the sights, and you're just rolling through rounds like 2-3 rounds a second. Your eyes just cannot pick up the dot that quickly, or your iron sights especially that quickly. So now you're just relying on muscle memory and rolling with it, and you can shoot very accurately like that. It just takes a lot of practice. It just takes practice, and then if you stop practicing, it will go away. So if you train for cadence and trigger control and using your sights, like you guys saw, you can shoot very quickly while using your sight, and that will never fade. You can always do that. So that's how I train people to shoot. That's why I think recoil control is so overrated. But this gun is very good without this compensator. So take this compensator out of it. You just have this gun with these serrations, these controls, this trigger, all this set up with this optic system. It's a very good gun, and that's why I would recommend this gun. I'm not going to say it's going to make you a better shooter. I'm not going to say it's easier to shoot than another gun. I can shoot the PDP as well or better than this, and it recoils more. So, but this is a phenomenal gun. If you're interested in this gun, it's going to offer you a lot of features like this texture, like these serrations, this magazine release. It's all working phenomenally together with an awesome aesthetic You get the metal frame. It's just a very, very good, competent entry into the, I mean, I would say polymer gun market, but it's the striker-fired combat gun market since this is aluminum, but it's phenomenal. It's right up there with the Walther PDP. I would definitely take this over a 509. VP9 as it's stock, definitely take this over a VP9 that's stock. If you put some custom stippling on them, then this is going to have a little bit more of a run for its money. But, I mean, man, out of the box for 900 bucks, this is a very difficult gun to beat as far as looks and features and everything that you get with this, as well as how accurate you can be with it. It's just a phenomenal gun. All right, guys, so if you are interested in this gun, I would recommend trying to shoot one before you buy it. At least go into a store and hold it, because this grip texture and these serrations and the ergonomics are all going to be pretty unique to this gun. So you really want to make sure that this is kind of the thing for you. This is much more aggressive than most guns you're ever going to feel on the market, which I find phenomenal. Some other people will grab this and be like, oh, this hurts, I don't like this. So my buddy in particular, he doesn't like this gun because it's too aggressive feeling. So, I mean, to each their own. This does have a unique feature set that is for an avid shooter. It's for a person that really geeks out on handgun features, and that's me. That's probably you if you're watching this video. And so I would highly recommend it. This is one of the best guns on the market today. And the only thing that I would put up close to it would be the PDP and I mean, that's it. I mean, it's really this or the PDP, in my opinion, when it comes to the top two guns now. All right, guys, there's my review. Catch you next time.